It's me, Freddy. Eddie Canestracci asked me to sub for him because he had this content dilemma. He wanted to do a Halloween special and review the new Dokken album, so he thought this worked for both. It's like that poor kid whose birthday falls on a holiday. Doesn't it suck to be that kid? It makes me want to put that kid out of his misery. Which I'm happy to do. Ha 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 ha! Little known fact, in addition to teenagers, I also used to kill children. Yeah, it's part of my backstory. And yet, I was heavily marketed to children in the 80s. You gotta love the 80s. Of course, if you're watching a fucking Dokken review, there's a pretty good chance you do love the 80s. Hey, I love the 80s too. It was my heyday, bitch. And it was also Don Dokken's heyday. We've got a lot in common, Don and myself. We're both older gentlemen who peaked in the 80s. And we both like to wear fucking hats. Yeah, I know we were rivals when we battled back in the day. But he was a worthy opponent. And I always had respect for him. And man, could that George Lynch shred. You all know Freddy loves shredding. Ha 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 ha! See what I did there, bitch? Anyway, believe it or not, it's 2023 and there's a new Dokken album. Think about that. 2023, new Dokken album. Even though Don lost the ability to sing years ago. That's right. The guy can't sing, and yet he still makes albums. You gotta respect his tenacity and devotion to paying the taxes on his Bel Air home. And it's what he's done all his life. He's a singer. You don't just stop being a singer because you can no longer sing. It's like when Nancy dragged me out of the dream universe into the real world and I lost all of my awesome powers. I still chased after her and tried to kill her with my knife claws. I mean, what the fuck else am I gonna do? I'm still a slasher, even if I'm rendered powerless. You gotta make shit work, you know? Likewise, Don is just trying to make shit work. And guess what? He makes it fucking work. I think Don sounds the best he has in years on the new album. He maximizes his limited vocal range for utmost effectiveness. He's more of a crooner now, in the Jim Morrison vein, and his voice is filled with a lot of mood and world-weary emotion. It makes me want to dim the lights, nurse a scotch, and pine about a world that's left me behind a long time ago. It gives Freddy the feels. Yeah, Freddy has feelings. Just ask Nancy when I gifted her a heartwarming reunion with her recently deceased father. And then I fucking killed the bitch. Sorry, I had to do it. She was an Elm Street kid, and killing Elm Street kids is my job. So the new Dokken album is entitled Heaven Comes Down. Unless you're a total poser, you know that's the name of a killer tune from their metal masterpiece, Tooth and Nail. Does that clawed hand look a little familiar on the album cover? Yeah, they were totally biting my shit. But I let it slide because they contributed some awesome music to my awesome third movie. Chances are, if you're into the 80s and Dokken, you also love Dream Warriors. If you didn't, it'd just be fucking weird. Anyway, so Don obviously titled this album Heaven Comes Down to act as a signpost to fans. This album is gonna sound like old school Dokken. He did the same damn thing back in 2008 with the album Lightning Strikes Again. And that album did sound like old school Dokken. Although Don didn't sound so into it, as if he was doing it begrudgingly. On this album, however, he actually sounds into it, as if he's finally resigned himself to the fact that old school 80s Dokken was his creative peak, and he feels like being awesome again. Also note that phoenix-like dragon beast rising from the depths of hell on the album cover. I think Don is trying to make this mascot a thing. It's clearly rooted in the back for the attack coat of arms, and it also appeared on the covers of Don Dokken's Up From the Ashes, Lightning Strikes Again, and the Lost Songs compilation. And here he is again, looking badass and determined to fuck shit up. I like him, but he needs a name. All great metal mascots have folksy names, just like all great slashers. What to call this guy? What to call him? I've got it. I'm gonna name him after one of my favorite Elm Street kids I killed. Joey. I always liked Joey. I felt really bad when I tricked him into thinking I was a hot chick inside his waterbed and then killed him. I used to be very imaginative with my kills back in the day. That's why I was the best, bitch. I'll let you guys ogle that picture a little bit longer. Okay, that's enough, horn dogs. Moving on. So between Dokken's mascot Joey and the album title and the band's logo being in the classic font, you know this is going to be one of those later Dokken releases that's going to try its best to make you feel like a teenager again and finger banging a big-haired girl and a Firebird. Whereas when Lightning Strikes Again and many of the band's later albums leaned into Don's gloomier inclinations, Heaven Comes Down is extremely Firebird and finger-banging friendly. Although it starts off gloomy with its opening track, Fugitive, which is a good track, but doesn't sound too different from what Don's been churning out in recent years. However, Levin's guitar work is exceptional. He shreds, and you know what Freddy loves to do, right? Yeah, you get it. In the past, I thought Levin bit too heavily from George Lynch's style, especially on that Lightning Strikes Again album. But on the new album, he's found a decent compromise between a Lynch-esque style and doing his own thing. This is easily the best guitar work on a Dokken album since Reb Beach's work on Erase the Slate. Yeah, Freddy knows his shit. I ain't no poser. Like that annoying comic book kid in my fifth movie. Man, I hated that kid. He made me really miss cooler Elm Street kids like Joey and Kincaid. It made me start to think, maybe I killed Joey and Kincaid too soon, if dweebs like this are gonna start popping up. Oh well, hindsight is a bitch. Bitch. So Levin's guitar work is his best work ever on a Dokken album, and the whole band sounds great, including Don. It sounds like they're tweaking his voice a bit in the studio, but it's not as auto-tuned and enhanced sounding as some other recent recordings featuring old singers who can't sing anymore. Again, to give Don some credit, unlike many other old rock singers, his voice isn't auto-tuned to death on his albums, and he's not lip-syncing live. It's a real human being with a real fucking voice. Call me old-fashioned, but I'd rather hear that than some fake robot shit or backing tape. And like I said earlier, Don has learned to become more of a crooner, and it results in a unique voice for a metal album, which has always been the case with fucking Don Dokken. Some metalheads think Don sounds like a wuss, but his voice moves me. Yeah, it fucking moves Freddy, just like Nancy moved me when she was taking a bath. Yowza! So the second track is called Gypsy. Not the most original title for a song, but it's a solid second track that rocks a little harder than the first song, and it exhibits a Judas Priest-style pageantry like some of their best material in the 80s. However, it's still on the gloomier side, which is fine. Dokken was always gloomier than their peers, but they used to have different shades in their material. Day and night, gloomy time, and party time. Well, guess what, bitch? With the third track, Is It Me or You? It's party time again! Holy shit! This is an actual fun song! It's been decades since Don wrote a fun song. A sexy and serpentine guitar hook, a swaggering groove, cool lyrics, and an overall welcome tonal shift. You could do some serious finger banging to this tune, but the Dokken party's just starting. With the fourth track, Just Like a Rose, Don has done something he's never done before. He's ripped off the band's biggest hit, In My Dreams. Now you would have think he would have done that years ago, but Don has always been a sourpuss contrarian and probably thought that kind of pandering was beneath him. Well, no longer. Now he's like, fuck it. I'm gonna write a song like In My Dreams, and it's gonna be Finger Bang City. Yeah, it's a shameless move, but it's so unexpected from Don, especially in 2023, that it comes across as a curveball baller move. Plus, it's an awesome song. It's like In My Dreams with its beautiful and tenacious melody, but it actually rocks harder and has a beefier production. The lyrics are cool too. 4 songs in, and I'm rocking with Dokken, bitch. Don and the boys keep up the momentum with the powerful anthem, I'll Never Give Up, which calls to mind one of my favorite Dokken songs, Will the Sun Rise Again? But with sage-like wisdom from Don, which only comes from age. Unlike certain other old rock stars, Don isn't hiding his age, just like he's not hiding his battered voice. I'll Never Give Up isn't simply a nostalgic rock anthem, it's an emotional declaration of persistence even when your best years are well behind you and the world is getting shittier and shittier. I find it very inspirational, actually. Yeah, Freddy needs inspiring sometimes, like when in the 6th movie, they had me flying around on a fucking broom and doing a Wicked Witch impersonation. Man, talk about a low point in my life. If I only had the song I'll Never Give Up back then, it might have kept me from popping pills and ending up in the Betty Ford Center where I was stuck with that douchebag Nikki Sixx, who was pretending to be a heroin addict. Back to the fucking album, and man, the party's still going. Saving Grace comes on like a motherfucker taking prisoners with a heavy and badass groove. Great hooks, great melodies, and a dark and restless quality. Tonally, this is exactly the kind of song I wanted to hear after a couple of the poppier songs. This album has great variety and sequencing. Holy shit! It's 2023, and I'm loving a new Dokken album. It makes me want to go out and start killing Elm Street kids again. How's this for a TikTok, Jaden? Ah ha 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 ha! The next track, Over the Mountain. Once again, not one of the most original titles, but another killer tune. This one is yet another shade. Another shade in this tapestry of different shades that still all sound like one awesome Dokken album. Over the Mountain has an almost mid-1960s British invasion feel, with a splash of 90s alternative rock Dokken. Now this is what that shitty Shadow Life album should have sounded like. And man, is Levin playing his ass off. Mad props to this lawyer turned guitarist. Yeah, the guy used to be a lawyer. And now listen to him. Also mad props to drummer BJ Tampa and bassist Chris Corvell, and to producers Bill Palmer and Don Dokken. This sounds like an actual band and not some cut and paste abomination like some other older acts' recent albums. Just saying, bitch. Yeah, I say bitch a lot. Along with killing Elm Street kids, saying bitch is my job. Bitch. Then we get to I Remember, which is another Dokken ripping off Dokken song. This time around, the song Don is clearly ripping off is Alone Again. It sounds like they're even using the same fucking reverb on the guitar. But unlike Just Like a Rose, this ripoff never really takes off, and it's the weakest track on the album. However, I still like hearing Don being this poppy again. Yeah, Freddy digs some poppy shit, like that song Kristen sang in my 4th film, Running from This Nightmare, which is a stone cold classic. Kristen is another Elm Street kid I regretted killing later on, especially when dealing with that eating disorder chick from the 5th film. Man, was she annoying. Kristen was way cooler than her. Oh well, it's my job. And at least Kristen got to pass on her powers and some of her coolness to Alice. I liked Alice. That's why I killed her stupid jock boyfriend and violated her womb in the 5th film. Yeah, things started to get pretty freaky by that point. What were we talking about? Oh yeah, the new Dokken album. Not a big fan of I Remember, but so far this is the only track I haven't been crazy about. And it's still better than Don covering the fucking love song from Titanic. Yeah, he really did that. I guess he was drinking too much Chardonnay or something. Anyway, moving on. We're back on track with the killer knife track, Lost in You. This song is gloomy, melodic Dokken majesty with a touch of Thin Lizzy guitar style thrown in. A great track, and I'm excited now because I realize this is turning out to be a boss fucking album. It's 2023, and Dokken released a boss fucking album. I really need to get back in the game again. Slash left, slash right, Emma. You see, I can adapt to 2023. So anyway, Don throws another curveball at us for the last track, which is an acoustic song entitled Santa Fe, and it's totally different from anything Dokken has ever recorded. It almost sounds like an Eagles song, but a good fucking Eagles song. In fact, I love this damn song. And once again, it gave old Freddy the feels. It made me cry. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit it. I cried. If Eddie Canestracci can cry when watching the end of Jaws 2, I can cry when listening to a fucking Dokken song. Santa Fe acts as a soulful and reflective coda to the album, and once again displays a Don Dokken stepping into an elder statesman role and pulling it off with much grace and dignity. So what's the final verdict? Is Heaven Comes Down a smash or slash? Well, I think it's obvious now. It's a smash! I fucking love this new album. I think it's easily the band's best release since Erase the Slate. And that album was released back in 1999. So this new album is Dokken's best album in over 20 years. Good job, Don. You're a noble dream warrior, indeed. So that's my review. If you want to listen to the Eddie Canestracci guy, check out the latest episode of the Rock Over You podcast, in which he reviews every single John Carpenter film from 1976 to 1988. Man, does that guy talk too much? Of course, people say the same thing about me after the second film. Well, I was becoming a star. Did you ever become a star? That's right. No! So fuck off and happy Halloween, bitch!